right now, if there is one team in world football that can stop this FC Barcelona team, it's these guys. The dark horses of European football. Except here's the thing. Inter Milan has a secret game plan of their own that makes an unpredictable force in big games.
Carlos Augusto for Marcus Thuram, now Lautaro Martinez!
Confusing tactics that adapt to every team they're up against. And if you're Hansi Flick, there's an even bigger reason why his Barcelona team has to fear Inter Milan. Before that, with the Champions League semi-finals coming soon, you're probably wondering where the best place to watch live broadcasts is. Well, that's where GG Pick comes in. Champions League, Premier League, La Liga, Serie A, the big European leagues, and even other sports too. I'm talking boxing, basketball, UFC, they even do hockey too. Plus, they've got the added option that allows you to buy a subscription to all sports, live broadcasts, and even recordings on DAZN, all at GG Pick for just €19 per year. So how do you get on GG Pick then? Go to ggpick.com and buy a DAZN subscription with a special 15% discount using my promo code FH15 and watch live sports right now. Check out the link in the description. Beating Bayern Munich? Check. Despite the tall draw at the Giuseppe Meazza, that 2-1 win away from home means Inter will be in the Champions League semi-final for the second time in 3 years. But as impressive as this is, there's something that used to be a problem.
Both those things that we just put up there, and it's called Las Vegas, who are usually pretty accurate, and they've got Barcelona as the favorites, PSG as the second favorite, and then they have Arsenal and Inter last.
A prediction stat listing Inter Milan as the least favourite team to win the Champions League. Now, I did say this used to be a problem, and that's because if I roll that clip seconds back to where Opta gets involved, it's this.
Wow, look how balanced that is.
That's pretty close, isn't it? Arsenal still at the top though, just. Let's see what our YouTube friends think, if they agree with Opta.
It used to be a case of Inter getting slept on for months, but now it's almost as if everyone realises just how good they are. And this automatically becomes a huge problem for Barcelona. So why should Barcelona be scared of this Inter Milan team then? Well, the first reason is this.
Banging the drum, I believe, is a phrase you've been using of late.
Well, you look at some of the teams Bayern have played, Barca have played recently. They've lacked structure.
Yep.
Benfica, Dortmund in the Champions League.
Yes, Betis.
It's the structure. And this one makes Inter Milan so deadly. Barcelona has been on a tear this season, scoring goals for fun, top La Liga, in the Copa del Rey final, and won the Spanish Super Cup already. The point with this is, all the hype this season has been around Barcelona and how good they are. But if we take a closer look at some of the teams they faced, then you'd realise that there's a loophole in Flick's tactics that Inter Milan would have recognised already. Barcelona is yet to face a team with a structure as good as Simone Inzaghi and Inter Milan. Take the wins against Real Madrid, for example. Big games, a big team, but it's been very well documented how imbalanced this Real Madrid team is this season. Bayern Munich in the Champions League, particularly at the back, Bayern has become the type of team to happily concede in transitions while going on the offensive, and Barcelona exploited that. Dismantling Borussia Dortmund in the first leg was against the Dortmund team that, in truth, didn't seem like they had the plan to compete at the Luis Companys. Against Benfica, the Eagles played a high-risk system going toe-to-toe. That almost paid off over 2 games. But the point with all these games, as we've mentioned, is Barcelona hasn't come up against a team that's as defensively solid and properly balanced attacking-wise as Inter is. And this becomes a problem. But it's more than just the structure, because from a tactical standpoint, Simone Inzaghi's tactics for Hansi Flick are a big problem. On paper, they'll line up in a 3-5-2, but in reality, there is a variety to this mix that makes Inter a very dangerous team. That 3-5-2 gets broken down according to the sequence of play. When building out from the back, it becomes a 2-1-5-2. 2 of the 3 centre-backs split. The goalie, which is usually Jan Sommer, occupies the space in between both centre-backs, while the third centre-back acts as the screen between defence and attack. In transition, it then becomes a 3-1-4-2. The three centre-backs get into position and Hakan Calhanoglu sits at the base. The formation can also vary into a 3-4-3 or even a 4-4-2, all depending on the opposition. So why should Barcelona be scared of this Inter tactic then? Well, it's because they can not only have a go, but beat them in more ways than one. Because of how good they've been, Barcelona's tactics under Hansi Flick this season have been very well documented, particularly how they like to take control of the game by dominating the midfield. Hansi Flick sees this area of the pitch, the middle part, as the key to winning games, and so, no matter the opposition, Barca always try to outnumber teams in midfield. But the point here is, this is an area, or a tactic, that Inter will be very well versed in. Playing in that 3-5-2, or whichever variant it does end up becoming, Inter has players who, although might not necessarily be on the same technical level as the likes of Pedri or Frankie de Jong, can match up to Barcelona's superiority in midfield. Under Inzaghi, Inter has become a dynamic side with the ability to absorb pressure in their half. But the point we're trying to make here is, when they do get possession and the ball gets to Calhanoglu, he's got the ability to pick out long balls over the top, playing over that Barcelona high press. But it's not just him too, there's more. From an attacking perspective, Barcelona is lethal. 147 goals in 50 official matches as of recording this. They're on course to break the record under Pep's Barca team of 190 goals in 64 matches in the 2011-12 season. But there's a catch Simeone and Inter will have realized with Barca's system too. Barcelona defends with a block in the center of midfield. The point we went a bit in depth with earlier, but there is a way around this. The low block offers space and the chance to create opportunities for teams that know how to defend aggressively and counter quickly. Defend aggressively and counter quickly? It's like saying Inter Milan without saying Inter Milan. Take this goal against Bayern Munich, the opener in the 2-1 win at the Allianz Arena weeks back. It's the perfect example of just how lethal Inter can be when transitioning to attack. This as well is another reason Flick's Barcelona has to be scared of this Inter Milan team. You see, there's a lot of emphasis on Italian teams and how defensively minded they are. Take Inter Milan for example. In the Champions League this season, they've only conceded 5 goals, which already sounds impressive. But it gets even better when you realise out of those 5 goals, 3 came against Bayern Munich, meaning before the games versus Bayern, they conceded just 2 goals in 10 matches. That's solid. But the point here is that this has almost become a misconception. Truth is, anyone who refers to Inter Milan as a defensive team probably doesn't watch enough Serie A or pay close enough attention to how they play. They've averaged 49.75% in terms of ball possession in the Champions League this season. And that number took a hit against Bayern because they knew it would.
Inter teams knows who they are. They have an identity, and not only that, that identity can change. It's multifaceted. If they want to defend the last 10 minutes of the game like they did yesterday, they'll tell Bayern, come at me. They're like a boxer that will take jabs to the face, jab, jab, jab. Never knocked out though. So even if you say, it wasn't pretty, it was a desperate survival to the finish line. Yeah, but that's what Inter does.
Again, the idea here is, Inter isn't just a defensive team. They can hold the ball for long periods. They average 59.5% possession per 90 numbers in Serie A, which, in fact, is the highest in the league. If Flick and Barcelona go into this one thinking they'll easily dominate possession because the Inter game plan would be to sit back and defend, that could end up becoming a big mistake. No doubt, Inter Milan will be hard to beat, and that's because of another quality. This time a team one that makes them very dynamic. Fluidity. The way Inter play, when you watch them, it's a masterpiece under Inzaghi. It's almost as if each player must be able to play in at least 3 of the 8 positions on the pitch. The players regularly rotate roles, and it's become a common theme to see not just Alessandro Bastoni, but the other centre-backs, be it Stefan de Vrij, Francesco Acerbi, or Jan Bissek, advance with the ball and move into midfield. And when they do this, the likes of Barella, Calhanoglu, and even Mkhitaryan drop and act as centre-backs. Everyone can play everywhere. Truth is, this Inter Milan team is full of so many underrated ballers, and Barcelona simply has to be scared of that. We mentioned Hakan Calhanoglu earlier, and even he doesn't get enough credit. Just over a year back, Calhanoglu got criticised after calling himself the best midfielder in the world. A year later, even though that statement still seems kind of heavy, the truth is he's not far from it. Playing as an attacking midfielder in the past, there was a feeling that he was just a level behind being termed as world-class. But now, in that regista role, there isn't much better than him in the game. He's right up there. His passing, vision, and when he gets into position, the goals too. 10 goals and 5 assists in 38 games as a deep-lying playmaker? That is very impressive. Then you move to the other guy in midfield. Truth is, if you watch Serie A or Italian football regularly, you'd be cheering for him as loud as the Inter fans here are. Nicolo Barella is an underrated gem. Technical ability, work rate, and quality. Most times you find maybe one or two in a midfielder, but with Barella, he's got all three. Against Bayern, for example, the stats will show Barella recovering a team-high 5 loose balls, which suggests he put in a defensive shift against the German giants. But again, there's more. In the same game, Barella was Inter's creative spark going forward. 2 successful take-ons, 3 progressive carries, a 91.8% passing accuracy, 45 out of 49 passes completed, 1 key pass, and 1 crucial one even the stats can't quite measure. No one has more ball recoveries than his 6.08 this season. The only midfielder in Serie A to have provided a goal or assist in each of the last 8 seasons. In all, you probably get the point. Nicolo Barella is a special talent, and the fact that he consistently performs against the big teams shows you the big game player too. Then you go up top, and the 2 guys in there represent a scary problem for Hansi Flick and Barcelona. That opener versus Bayern at the Allianz Arena was the perfect indicator of the link-up between these two. Lautaro Martinez and Marcus Thuram, but what makes them so dangerous then? As Marcus Thuram explains it, he isn't the traditional number 9. He played more as a winger than he did as a centre-forward in the Borussia Mönchengladbach days. But coming into the Inter Milan team, he's now adapted, and as we mentioned, the fact that he and Lautaro Martinez are so similar and yet different just adds up for Inter. The runs they make, the positioning, and in particular Lautaro Martinez. Honestly, he's so underrated he gets slept on. He's not just a goal scorer, he's Inter's leading man. The one the team looks to when they need a goal, something inspirational. The way he fights for the team, is strong on the ball, and is very technical too. And his general link-up play and scoring goals consistently for Inter over the years hit the 30-plus goal contribution mark in his last 2 seasons in all competitions. Plus, the stats back him up too. He's having the best minute-per-goal ratio in the Champions League, averaging a goal every 81 minutes, even better than Barcelona's Lewandowski and Rafinha, who have more goals with 11 and 12 than Martinez's 8. But there's also something, particularly about a front 2 system, that Barcelona fans might not want to remember. That 2-1 defeat to Atletico Madrid at home, Atleti set up in a front 2 system. And yeah, before there's talk about Barcelona dominating that game and the number of saves Oblak made to keep Atleti in the match, the point here is, every time Atleti did break, the combination of Atleti's front 2 system was a threat. Not necessarily Alvarez and Griezmann, but the system itself. Using a front 2 means allowing 2 attackers who can easily play off each other. And in this case, Lautaro Martinez and Marcus Thuram are well versed in this role. Then it adds up too, because if you remember what we talked about as a Barcelona weakness, the low block offering spaces for teams that can be aggressive in defense and counter to devastating effect. That front 2 is more than capable. Even better still is the other area of the pitch that Hansi Flick must be worried sick about, particularly if Inter gets it right. Inter's wing-backs. Again, down to the Barcelona system, and this is an area of the pitch Inter could be tactically superior. With Alejandro Balde all set to miss the first leg, Hansi Flick will most likely be forced to play Gerard Martin in there. And no disrespect to Martin, but he's not Alejandro Balde. And even with Balde in the team, the tussle down the wings was already going to be hard enough for Barcelona. His form may have dipped of late, but Federico Di Marco at the top of his game is an asset for Inter Milan and a huge problem for any team. Crossing, passing, dribbling, defending, the ability from set pieces? You could easily make a case for Dimarco being the best left-back, or in this case, the best wing-back in the world. The same with Denzel Dumfries too. According to reports from outlets like Gazzetta, Dumfries should be fit in time for the semi-final, and if he does play against Gerard Martin, it only looks like one possible outcome: dominance for Inter. See, the wing-backs are a huge part of how Inter operates, particularly against Barcelona. Since we know Barca likes to overload the middle of the pitch, there will be space for both Dimarco and Dumfries or Carlos Augusto to operate. And if they do, if they're supplying that Inter front line with crosses and passes, this will be a huge problem for Hansi Flick. And it'll be criminal to have come this far without talking about how good Barcelona is too. Credit to Flick and his team, they're flying. They score goals, and defensively, even though they've looked shaky at times, they've caught the opposition offside over 200 times this season, and no other team in the European top 5 leagues comes close. Barcelona has a structure and a pattern of play that's deadly under Hansi Flick, and credit to that. But ultimately, it comes down to one thing, and in this angle, Inter has the edge.
It's like you can go to the gym, you can work out, you can get as strong as you want. It's whatever strength you want to call it. You could be in your prime of your life.
What are you saying?
And your father will still beat you up.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Inter.
So
That's Inter.
Old man strength, experience. It's what to expect too. You see guys, part of the reason Inter Milan probably doesn't get as much hype and recognition as they should is because of the aesthetic look or feel of the squad. They are the oldest team in terms of the average squad age in Serie A, with an average age of 29.7 years. And you generally feel that Inter's policy is to sign experienced pros well into their careers who can compete. The likes of Jan Sommer, Mehdi Taremi, Mario Arnautovic. Additions in recent years that prove this example. With age comes experience, and you compare this to a Barcelona team that has players like Pedri, Lamine Yamal, Pau Kubasi, Alejandro Balde, and Marc Casado. All the players mentioned are 22 and younger. And while Barca does have experience of their own, with the likes of Lewandowski, Inigo Martinez, and even goalkeeper Wojciech Szczęsny, that Inter side has more. It's built on that. Ultimately, it comes down to the battle on the pitch, but the events that happened before that could play a crucial role. Yes, Inter did suffer over 2 legs versus Bayern.
Trovato subito 2 gol che erano importantissimi e niente, poi come siamo abituati abbiamo difesa molto bene, dopo il 2-1 eravamo sempre compatti, non abbiamo lasciato niente poi.
But you listen to Calhanoglu talk here, and the aspect about playing games every 3 days comes in. They knew this was going to happen and found a way to survive. Barcelona has an even harder task. Why? 3 days before this Champions League clash with Inter, they'll be competing for a potential second trophy of the season in the Copa del Rey final. And yeah, their opponents will be Real Madrid too, and that's a big game, followed by another big game. Hansi Flick will have to rotate his squad. But even with that, you just sense that certain key players will be involved to large extent in both games, and the thought of fatigue setting in before the Inter game is a possibility. Then there's the media hype too. Again, for large parts of the season, Barcelona and its players have been in the headlines, and for the right reasons too. Talk about the treble this season? Barcelona are the heavy favourites. Talk about the Ballon d'Or? Rafinha, Lamine Yamal, and even Lewandowski are the favourites in the running for the award. But the point here is, this Inter Milan team cannot be written off, because what makes them scary is that they've got the same ambitions too. Top of Serie A, and in truth, the only reason Serie A has been this close in terms of the title race is because Inter has been playing a second and third gear all season. It's only recently they took it up a notch. They're in the semi-final of the Coppa Italia and the semi-final of the Champions League. A treble is in the works too. And then it comes down to individual success. If he captains Inter Milan to win the Champions League or even the treble this season, Lautaro Martinez will climb the ranks in the Ballon d'Or discussion. Heck, he could even become the top pick. Whichever way you decide to look at it, Inter has the same ambitions as Barcelona. The talk about Barcelona repeating history from 2015? The last time Inter Milan had the oldest team in European competition at this stage, they went on to win it in 2010, a year they also faced Barcelona in the semi-finals and won 3-2 on aggregate. It'll be a very tough game over 2 legs, particularly for Barcelona, because the Inter test is the acid one. A game where the slightest mistakes could get punished, and once that happens, once Inter gets the advantage, it's more often than not game over. Whichever team does win this one could potentially face one of the surprise packages in the competition. An Arsenal team fresh off the back of knocking out the defending champions Real Madrid, and what was even more impressive about this was how they did it over 2 legs. Click the next video to find out how Arsenal ghosted Real Madrid.